Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Spider-Man, the series, the animated series from 1981. There are many Spider-Man animated series on Disney Plus right now, so they all vary in quality and currentness, obviously. This is one of the older ones. I think it's the oldest one. Um, there's one in the 90s. There's an Ultimate Spider-Man. There's just a few, but this one's 1981. This is very much a product of its time, and yeah, if you grew up with this kind of thing, it's got a special place in your heart. It doesn't age well, storytelling wise. Each of the episodes are like 23 minutes long each. There's only one season, and it's like 26 episodes. And you'd think, it's Spider Man. This thing would go on for season after season, but apparently it sort of fell by the wayside. I guess. I don't know. This is about the time when Stan Lee had just moved to LA from New York. He moved there around 1980 or so and had been wheeling and dealing trying to get all the Marvel characters and properties deals. They were actually working on a Spider Man movie at this point. Well, a little bit before this, in the 70s, they were working on a Spider Man movie that never came to pass. They did make a Spider Man live action series, however, along with The Incredible Hulk and a few other things here and there. They attempted a Doctor Strange pilot. This was an era in which they tried really hard to make the Marvel brand go Hollywood, and some success, some failed. This, like I said, it's a cult classic. It has, I don't know if it's a cult classic, but it's a classic in many people's hearts. Who just, this was their first introduction to Spider-Man, who may not have been able to read the comic books, but man, they make this as simple as it can be for little kids to suddenly be like wowed by this guy who shoots webs and swings through the city and fights bad guys, very colorful bad guys. In his first episode here, he fights Doc Ock. Doc has little remote control arms in this case. He uses to steal various gems and minerals and whatever else, bypassing all the expensive stuff and going for certain things that'll help him make super Doc Ock arms. And a lot of it is so silly. It's so. The comics are more sophisticated, even in 1980, than they are in this comic, but in this cartoon. But of course, it's meant for kids. This is Saturday morning stuff, so yeah, you can't really fault them for that. Somehow, I think they do their best to pad out the story to make it 23 minutes long, so you can put as many commercials for toys between them. But what are you gonna do? The second one, he jumps up quite a bit in the villain area. He fights Doctor Doom, who takes over the world through mind controlling all the members of the UN, all the presidents and the prime ministers and the kings of the world, and they all meet and they all decide. He gets in this little side diatribe where I need to kidnap. I've gotten everybody but the Secretary of State, or he just starts. He builds out this whole entire plan, which would just go whoosh over a bunch of kids' heads, but it's still kind of very doomy. It's very funny, where he takes over the world. How Spider-Man beats him when the world backs Doom and says, "No, he's our leader." Of course, because they're all brainwashed. But there's one point where he uses a future kind of spaceship blimp that he uses to steal Air Force One with the president inside, and it's very much a Star Wars moment where the airplane is so small in comparison that it goes inside of a hatch underneath the blimp. It doesn't look like a blimp at all. It's what Spider-Man keeps calling it. But yeah, it's they use a lot of visual references. Spider-Man makes in order to get to the blimp, Spidey has to get the help of a guy who owns a plane, and somehow on the edge of New York City he finds a guy who happens to be a World War One flying ace. In a very much, it's Snoopy's plane, I'm pretty sure. Although it looks like he's a Red Baron, but I can't tell. Either way, he's got a plane, and if that plane's going to help him get up in the sky, it's about $20 an hour. And Peter's like, I got $1.98 in my suit. Wait, why do you have 98 cents jingling around in your tights? Well, how does it stay in place? Are there like little pockets and stuff that you just can't see? Do you see when he gets like a lot of change going to the laundry, does he have like a big bulge of coins sort of stacked in there somehow? And does it affect his swinging? That was a loaded question. But yeah, no, it's just really funny that he had $1.98. He's like, I don't get you 10 minutes. And Peter starts complaining about the plane. He's like, do you think this is a Starship Enterprise? Well, yay, we get a Star Trek reference. And in the next episode, Peter asks Betty Brant out on a date. And I can't tell, by the way, I can't tell if he's in high school or college, because he's really concerned about his homework all the time. And but he calls his teacher professor, so I'm guessing he's in college, but he's living with Aunt May still. And she's always getting in the way, almost catching him in his costume. But when he asks Betty Brant on a date, he's like, hey, I hear there's a new flick down at the Bijou about a guy from outer space who's allergic to green rocks. An obvious reference to the Superman film, which was blowing up huge at theaters around that time. Or around the time when they were animating it. And by 81, I think the sequel had been out by then. So yeah, or close, or just by then. I don't know. Either way, they made a Superman reference in a Marvel film without actually name dropping him. So yeah, it's a fun little series. It's going to be on the level of Saturday morning cartoons. Don't expect a whole lot of sophistication, but those little references like the Starship Enterprise or Superman. Almost name dropping are fun little nuggets that us adults can enjoy by going back to that era. So if you want to catch some real 80s level animation, it's not good. The color matching is really bad. Like, there's one shot where Betty Brant is sitting at her desk, and her body, of course, isn't animated, isn't moving. She's just sitting at the desk, but her head has to animate and talk. And she's like the furthest complexion difference between face and neck that you could possibly imagine. It's really rough, but again, you got to forgive it because it's the 80s. It's 40, almost, this thing's almost 40 years old. I'm barely 17 myself. Anyway, yeah, this may not be the best Spider-Man cartoon out there. I think a lot of people would probably argue the 1992 one. Which one was that? 94. Some people really liked the 1994 one. But hey, it's all up to your taste and when you were introduced to it and when you first fell in love with Spider-Man. By the way, Doom shows up a lot in this cartoon. I searched through the episodes, and he's like 3 or 4 times. And he also, from what I can tell, Spider-Man fights a ton of his classic villains. Green Goblin shows up, Kingpin, Lizard is in the 3rd episode, Kraven. So if you're Kraven, a bunch of hit classic villains in animation style, here's your chance. At the time when it wasn't yet super cool to see superheroes on any kind of screen. It was just for the nerds and the little kids, for the most part, and the hip college students. But if you were a normie, this is way below you. Anyway, yeah, I only watched 2 episodes, so keep going. There's 26. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
254.
254. What do we got? 2 All right, we got a movie. I don't know who's in this. It sounds familiar. I think every time I would search for anything with ice, like Ice Age, and find that it doesn't exist, this would also come up because it's called Ice Princess. Something tells me this is the girl from Modern Family, or it could be another. I don't know. I don't remember. I do not remember, and I will not speculate because I will just look dumb. All right. I'll see you back here tomorrow with Ice Princess on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge.